Hello everyone and welcome to my horror mayhem potential TBR. So I've got this divided into like two different sections. One specifically for the weekly themes, and then some books selected specifically for the prompts. A lot of these, I have my phone with me so I can pull up Goodreads, because a lot of these I'm going to have to pull up Goodreads because there are quite a few ebooks. So, now the ones that you saw in the thumbnail are the physical books, and so yeah, I do not expect to get to these. Now please keep in mind, Horror Mayhem, the goal is to read horror. We suggest reading shorter horror, so it's either 200 or 250 pages or less, but that's just a suggestion. You don't have to do that. I have plenty of books here that are well over that I would love to get to. They are all horror. Now, you do not need to stick with the prompts. You do not need to stick with the theme. The goal is to just read horror. Any length, any age category, things like that. Again, the suggested age range is, or page length is merely that, a suggestion. Now, I still need to play my Catwalk TBR for May. Now, knowing myself, I cannot read nothing but horror. Same thing with romance or any other genre. I just can't dedicate an entire month to nothing but that genre. I will get burned out on that genre, and I don't want to do that. I am more likely to enter a reading slump if I try to stick to one genre. So I will try to get as much of these books on my May Catwalk TBR as I can, but I will also keep in mind I will try to be selecting other genres like romance, fantasy, contemporary, literary, things like that, to, like, maybe I can read one or two horror, but then I'm going to have to read a different genre. Even if it's a cozy mystery, it's different enough. So I just don't want to enter a reading slump, and I don't want to get burnt out on the genre. So that's my plan. I know I will not get to all of these books. These are just books that I want to prioritize, and if I don't get to them, that's fine. Eventually, I will get to these books. So let's go ahead and delve into this. First off, let's go with the weekly prompts. So this first book is a ebook, and it is local horror, so local to you. I live in Utah, so I wanted something that is specific to Utah. Could be a local author or something set in Utah, and that's what I'm going with, is something set in Utah. This is, it doesn't give the genre or age category, but this is by various authors, and this is a collection of short stories, and it's Apocalypse, Utah. This is a collection of Utah horror. So, three of the editors or authors listed are Callie Stoker, Johnny Worthen, and Jasmine Angel. So two of them are listed specifically as editor and one is not. So when I pull up the cover, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 authors, so I'm guessing there's at least 12 stories. Okay. It is edited by Johnny Worthen and Callie Stoker. Jasmine Angel is listed as one of the 12 authors. There's actually 13, but one of them is a duo author. It's Jess and Brittany. I can't read the last name on this image that I'm seeing, but they, for one short story. So one of them has two authors. Okay. Let's go ahead and delve into the description for this one. From the creators of Old Scratch and Owl Hoots, and It Came from the Great Salt Lake, comes the next installment of new Utah horror, Apocalypse, Utah, a collection of Utah horror. 12 apocalyptic horsemen of the Rocky Mountains have come together in this terrifying anthology of Utah horror. After years of dystopian fiction, these 12 writers won the challenge to portray how the apocalypse would occur. Questionable Kittens, Ritualistic Killing, Destroying Angels, Ancient Gods Seeking Punishment, Lawless Renegades, Practitioners of the Dark Arts, and Zombies will haunt every corner of your mind as you read these thrilling accounts of what could happen during the end of days in Utah. Reanimated corpses of religious fanatics proclaiming salvation are the least of your worries. So, that is Apocalypse, Utah, a collection of horror short stories. Theme number 2 is movie, and this can be any book film related. I am going with a book that was adapted into a film, and I'm going to try to get to, this has been on a couple of TBRs this year so far. I really want to continue this. This is the Hannibal Lecter series. This one is book 2, and this one is The Silence of the Lambs, written by Thomas Harris. An FBI trainee, a psychopath locked up for unspeakable crimes, and a serial killer getting ever closer to his latest victim. FBI rookie Clarice Starling turns to Dr. Hannibal Lecter, monster cannibal held in a hospital for the criminally insane, for insight into the deadly madman she must find. As Dr. Lecter invites her into the darkest chambers of his mind, he forces her to confront her own childhood demons as the price of understanding, an unspeakable tuition he exacts to teach her how the monster thinks, and time is running out. So, that is The Silence of the Lambs. I have not seen the movie, but maybe I will want to after I read the book, but I definitely want to read the book. Week 3, the theme is classic, and so for this one I'm going to go with another one. This one I have seen the movie, but I have not read the book, and I'm going to go with The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, not sure how to say that, but so yeah. For decades after, let's see, nope. So there's no synopsis on the back, so all I know is, I think she's either like maybe a child or a preteen that gets possessed, and they hire a religious person to come and exorcise the demon out of her. So that's all I know. But yeah, I've heard some good things about the book and the movie, but I've seen the movie. It's been a while, but I have seen the movie. And then finally, the theme for week number 4 is contemporary. For this one, I've decided to go, oh, this one's a heavy book. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, I'm guessing. Could be wrong on that. Let's see. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command. Starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies. The book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations who not only found themselves in those strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Now, for the first time, this astonishing novel is made available in book form, complete with the original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly added second and third appendices. So, and I do know that there are some different stuff. I've heard very mixed things about it, but I am really intrigued, so I do hope to get to this one. So those are the weekly themes. Now let's go ahead and get into the prompts. So these are the books that I would like to get to, but again, I do not expect to get to all of these books by no means. I mean, the prompts alone, I have written down 36 prompts. So with the 4 weekly themes, if I were to do a different book for each weekly theme and prompt, that's 40 books. There's no way I'm getting to 40 books in the month of May. So that's just no way. Okay. Number 1, Universal Monsters. So for this one, I'm counting this one as, now the tag R does contain vampire, and it also has the tag of zombies. I consider those universal. So universal monsters. And this is actually book 1 in the Pretty When She Dies series, and the title is the same, Pretty When She Dies, written by Rhiannon Frater. And it says, Amelia wakes under the forest floor, disoriented, famished, and confused. She digs out of the shallow grave and realizes she is hungry, a new, horrific, unimaginable way. Sating her great hunger, she discovers that she is now a vampire, the bloodthirsty creature of legend. She has no choice but to flee from her old life and travels across Texas. Her new hunger spurs her to leave a wake of death and blood behind her as she struggles with her new nature. All the while, her creator is watching. He is ancient, he is powerful, and what's worse is that he's a necromancer. He has the power to force the dead to do his bidding. Amelia realizes she is but a pawn in a twisted game, and her only hope for survival is to seek out one of her own kind. But if Amelia finds another vampire, will it mean her salvation or her death? So this is tagged as horror, but it also has the tag of urban fantasy. So when I selected the horror books, I wanted to make sure that horror was within the first 3 tags, preferably the first 1 or 2 tags listed on Goodreads. So, but there's that one. Prompt number 2 is a graphic novel, comic, or an alternate media. This one I'm going with a magazine. I found this one at my local grocery store and had to pick it up. This is The World's Scariest Places by Life magazine. So I will be reading my way through this magazine. This has Satan's Cave, the Maze of Madness, the Temple of Death, the Church of Bones, the Dragon's Lair, and Halls of Horror. So this is my alternate media. Prompt number 3 is cult horror. So this one, I am interpreting this as a book that actually contains a cult. And this one is definitely an example of a book that is definitely way over the shorter book range. This is over 500 pages. So 531 pages it looks like. And this is Last Days by Adam Neville. When guerrilla documentary maker Kyle Freeman is asked to shoot a film on the notorious cult known as the Temple of the Last Days, it appears his prayers have been answered. The cult became a worldwide phenomenon in 1975 when there was a massacre including the death of its infamous leader, Sister Catherine. Kyle's brief is to explore the paranormal myths surrounding an organization that became a testament to paranoia, murderous rage, and occult rituals. The shoot's location take him to the cult's first temple in London, an abandoned farm in France, and a derelict copper mine in the Arizonian desert, where the Temple of the Last Days met its bloody end. But when he interviews those involved in the case, those who haven't broken silence in decades, a series of uncanny events plague the shoots. Troubling out-of-body experiences, nocturnal visitations, the sudden demise of their interviewees, and the discovery of ghastly artifacts make Kyle question what exactly it is the cult has awoken, as well as its interest in him. So, that sounds really good. Okay. Prompt number 4 is indie horror, and for this one I'm going with this cover gives me the heebie-jeebies. You will be seeing this. This is an ebook, and it says the Kindle edition is 312 pages, so it is a little bit more on the longer side. It does sound intriguing, and this definitely sounds creepy. The cover just gives me the heebie-jeebies. It doesn't creep me out, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And you'll know that, you'll understand why when I get to a particular word in the synopsis. So, when parasitic head lice piggyback into a youth leadership conference, a group of teens is forced into a fight for survival. This one's sure to make your stomach turn and your head itch. Nitsi is excited to be invited to an exclusive leadership conference with her peers from across the globe. She's even more thrilled her partner on this trip is her cute jock classmate, Robbie. Hal is a new park ranger who's taken the job because policing is all he knows, and since a tragic accident took his daughter away, he's not too fond of guns, or people for that matter. Hal only wants to sit in the darkness and sulk in his sorrows. Andre is out hunting in the woods of West Virginia. He's one with his rifle, yet something ain't right in the woods. It's too quiet, oddly still, until Andre eyes a buck that seems out of sorts, thrashing around wildly with lifeless eyes. When he pulls the trigger and a bullet strikes home, there's no blood. Nothing. Something else has already drained it, and it's ready for a new host. With the entire town falling prey to this head-munching malice, and all the students at the Stonewall Forge Leadership Conference in danger, only a few can fight back before these parasitic head lice wipe out Cladesville, West Virginia, and spread across the rest of the world. So, prompt number 5 is personal horror or phobia. Now, I saw quite a few short stories that I could read that involved spiders. I really don't want to do that, and I'll tell you why. There was, I don't know, over a year ago, I want to say, I watched a bunch of like shorts on either YouTube or Instagram that were about like jumping spiders and stuff like that. I do have arachnophobia, but I was trying to calm my phobia down a little bit. I'm like, it's on the screen, it can't hurt me. Yeah, that triggered a nightmare. I thought like a spider the size of a dinner plate in my dream was gonna get me. It made me fall out of bed, and I jarred my back and I was in pain for over a week. It was bad, so I don't want to increase the chance of having another nightmare like that. No thank you. So I'm going with my other phobia, which is thalassophobia. If I can't see the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the lake, river, whatever it is, any body of water, I want nothing to do with it. I will sit and I will listen to the stream as it trickles by, the sound of the waves crashing on the shore, smell the salt, you know, for a live lake, live ocean, but I will not get in the water at this point. Okay, no, I have no desire to. So I'm going with Below Deck, mermaids. And this one I believe takes place mostly in or on the ocean, so there's where the phobia comes in. Let's see. These are, okay, so Below Deck is a series of horror books. This was written by Matt Shaw, but they are all standalone tales of horror. The characters are the same in all of the stories, but the stories are separate from one another. So these are a collection of companion novels, it sounds like. Okay. Therefore, you do not have to read any of the other books within the series to understand what is going on or who the people are. All right. Okay, here we go. As Captain Lee navigates the crystal blue waters, taking his guests out to some of the most fabulous locations, he and his crew come across an injured mermaid. Entranced by the mythical creature's beauty, they listen as she tells of a secret island of sheer paradise, which is known to but a few. In exchange for helping her get home, the creature promises to show them the way to the island so they can experience the paradise for themselves. However, once on board, they realizes she wasn't quite as injured as she made out, and she wasn't alone in those tropical waters. Something bigger and hungrier is lurking beneath the waves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and feast on the blood of the freshly dead. That definitely feeds into the thalassophobia where you don't know what's beneath you. So, Prompt number 6 is Haunted House. There are plenty of books to choose from, but I wanted to go with an ebook for this one called The Haunting of Bush Ranger Inn by B.J. Conroy. And this is like 174 pages. And this one says, Sandy and Nate are a young, recently married couple from Sydney, Australia, looking to move to the country and run their own business. The Bushranger Inn on the outskirts of the town of Soames, I'm not sure how to say that, is up for sale, and they decide to take on the challenge of running it. So it's Soames is the name of the town. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Let's see. The Bushrangers were 19th century Australian outlaws who raided farms, robbed banks, and held up stagecoaches. When the authorities pursued them, they disappeared into the vast hinterland of forest and scrub called the Bush. The inn does have a historic connection to real bushrangers. It was formerly known as the Victoria Arms and was the unofficial headquarters of the Morgan Gang. In 1863, police suspected them of robbing a gold shipment being taken by carriage from the gold fields of Soames to Sydney. The gold was never found, and the bushrangers died in mysterious circumstances. After moving to the inn, Sandy is disturbed by ghostly sounds occurring at the same time every night. Nate cannot hear them and thinks she is imagining it. Ignoring the sounds might help Sandy save her marriage and the business. But what if they're a warning? Could listening to them be her best chance of survival? Prompt number 7 is possession. I specifically wanted to find like demonic possession. Now this one is over 300 pages. And this one is Bad Girls Don't Die, and this is book number 1 in a series with the same title, Bad Girls Don't Die, written by Katie Allender, I'm guessing is how that is said. Could be wrong. All right. Alexis thought she had a typically dysfunctional high school existence. Dysfunctional like her parents' marriage. Her dull, crazy 12-year-old sister, Cassie, and even her own antisocial, anti-cheerleader attitude. When a family fight results in some tearful sisterly bonding, Alexis realizes that her life is creeping from dysfunction into danger. Cassie is acting stranger than ever. Her blue eyes go green sometimes. She uses old-fashioned language, and she even loses track of chunks of time, claiming to know nothing about her strange behavior. The old house is changing too. Doors open and close by themselves. Water boils on the unlit stove, and an unplugged air conditioner turns the house cold enough to see their breath in. Alexis wants to think that it's all in her head, but soon what she liked to think of as silly parlor tricks are becoming life-threatening to her, her family, and her budding relationship with the class president. She knows she's the only person who can stop Cassie. Anyway. But what if the green-eyed girl isn't even Casey anymore? I'm switching up the name. All of a sudden I'm like second-guessing how to say it. Next up, the prompt is religious horror. Now, The Exorcist could have definitely worked for this one. So The Exorcist would have worked for religious horror, but I wanted a different option. And so I'm going with The Omen by David Seltzer. And this is over 200 pages. The paperback is 272, so I'll know when I read the ebook how long it is. Jeremy Thorne, United States Ambassador to England, and his wife Catherine become the parents of a beautiful boy whose destiny is to fulfill the most horrible prophecy ever made. That's all it says. Okay, next up, the prompt number 9 is body horror. I do like body horror in books. The paperback is 220. Let me find the Kindle. 221, so it's around 220 odd pages. The book I have selected for body horror is Benjamin's Parasites, written by Jeff Strand. Let's see. At any given moment, the human body contains millions of parasites. This is a story of just one. A really, really nasty one. Benjamin Wilson is having a lousy month even before the stomach pains begin. He was about to turn 40. One of his students had been shot while on a homicidal meat cleaver rampage. And shortly after the funeral, Benjamin didn't feel so good. Now everything is changing. So I'm guessing it's some kind of parasite. And this did, a lot of these books, I just did a random Google search for the topic, like this one, body horror. And this is what came up. And so I am relying on the Google search results for that. And it sounds like from the title, there's going to be some body horror in it. Prompt number 10 is slasher. And this one I think is a horror romance, but I decided to go with Slash or Pass, written by Tyler Page. Yes, it is a horror romance. It says Slash or Pass is a MFM, so male, female, male, horror romance. If you like slasher horror, spicy romance, and a little schmink in your books, you're going to enjoy this novel. And this is over 400 pages. It looks like 411, 410, one of the two, 410, no, 409. Anyway, so Slash or Pass. When you get told to run, you get up and don't look back. We had one shot to get out of the sinister minister's grasp, and we took it. Hand in hand, Kansas and I fled in the middle of the night with the promise that we'd never tell a soul about what happened at that house and how Constantine died. Elsie has spent the last decade looking over her shoulder, trying to forget the horrors the minister and the family inflicted upon her and others. However, something continues to call to her. In the deepest roots of her psyche, she can't escape the nightmares of her time trapped in the cult. All of her fears come to a head when she finds a letter taped to her door, informing her that a documentary is being made about the minister and the events that took place 10 years ago. When she politely declines, she can't help but wonder why they didn't invite her more to talk. It isn't until she turns on the TV that she sees that they didn't need her to talk because they had someone else to captivate their audience. They found Constantine. He's alive. He remembers that we left him. Prompt number 11 is Killer Animals. The cover is hard to see. Let me turn off the light, see if you can see it a little bit better. Okay, that helps. So it's like a raptor dinosaur, but it's called something else in the book. Ooh. Yeah, so it's called something else in the book. This is Declaration of War in the Hunted Tribe series, written by Roma Gray. Deep in the North American forests lurks an animal spirit known as the Grishla. The Grishla is so ancient it predates the human race by several million years, and it is so powerful and reclusive only very insightful witches know of its existence. It really looks like a Utah raptor or velociraptor, whatever you want to use. That's what it looks like on the cover. Continuing on, it says 500 years ago, the Duanke, I know I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, this tribe possessed such witches. Drunk on their own power and arrogance, these witches attempted to enslave the Grisla. Enraged, the creature began hunting and killing. The creature began hunting and killing the people. Desperate, the tribal elders ordered experiments on the children to create the ultimate witch to defend their people. 16-year-old Sean Wolf is that witch, but Sean is so powerful that he cannot control his own magic. Will he be able to defeat the Grisla, or will he destroy himself and everyone that he loves? And this is 269 pages. Prompt number 12 is horror adjacent. This could be a sci-fi horror, a horror romance, and that's what I'm going with. This one says, right on the cover, a horror romance, and this is Satiate by M.A. Cobb. This is 245 pages. So, when a new virus awakens a gnawing hunger, they thought hiding away would be the answer. But as society breaks down, so do the lines between right and wrong. Clinging to the old rules will jeopardize their chances to survive when it becomes everyone for themselves. Caleb fights to fix his past mistakes, while Sarah struggles with her new future. Peter builds his kingdom, but Jessica wants to rule. Will they find a way to satiate their desires? So, a horror romance. Prompt number 13 is a translated horror. So for this one, I could not find a digital copy to purchase, so I ended up buying a paperback version of this, so it's on its way. I don't have it yet, but I will have it before this readathon. It's supposed to get here within the next 3 or 4 days at the most. I decided for translated to go with Dark Water, written by Koji Suzuki. The translator is Glenn Wally. Again, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And this is tagged, I'm assuming it's translated from Japanese, because it does say Japanese literature. So, and I believe this is the author that wrote the book The Ring that the movie is based on. Let's see. And Goodreads is not telling me what this book is about. So it's just called Dark Water. It's a translated horror book. It's a short story. It says, or it's a collection of short stories. I'm not sure. I'll find out more when I get it. The paperback version I ordered looks like it's around 275, 79-ish pages. So I'll know more when I actually have the book in hand. Prompt number 14 is diverse author. For this one, I'm going with an anthology or a collection of short stories. This is edited by Jordan Peele, and that is Out There Screaming. This is a collection of short horror stories. A cop begins seeing huge blinking eyes where the headlights of cars should be that tell him to pull over. 2 freedom riders take a bus ride that leaves them stranded on a lonely road in Alabama where several unsettling somethings await them. A young girl dives into the depths of the earth in search of the demon that killed her parents. These are just a few of the worlds of Out There Screaming, Jordan Peele's anthology of all new horror stories by Black writers. So there is your diverse author. They're all Black. So, and I don't know, this cover, like, it looks like 2 eyes and a mouth to me, so it makes me think, I don't know, it gives me kind of alien vibes. I don't know. That's just the vibe I get. Prompt number 15 is kidnappings. For this one, I decided to try to get to The Disappearance by Bentley Little. It is blurred by Stephen King saying the horror poet Lorette? I don't know. Anyway. The perfect getaway turns into a nightmare when a girl vanishes without a trace in this horror novel that could only have come from the mind of Bram Stoker award-winning author Bentley Little. Okay, alright, here's the synopsis. Gary, his girlfriend Joan, and their friends intend to make the most of their 3-day vacation from UCLA by partying at Burning Man. But soon after they arrive at the festival in the remote desert, Joan disappears. Calls to her parents' home yield only dead air. Her school records are gone, and there's no evidence that Joan or even her roommate ever existed. Most disturbing of all is what they do find. Among Joan's belongings is a prayer written on a small scroll. It's a safeguard and a warning for something called the Outsiders. For Gary and his friends, it's the only clue. Now, if they want to find out exactly what happened to Joan, they must follow it. But they may not like what they uncover. So, kidnappings. People are disappearing, so. Prompt number 16 is psychological horror. And this is book number 1 in the Coming Up Short series. This one is called Coming Up Short. This is book 1. It's 10 Twisted Tales written by Charles Welsh. Later on in the series, it does say this is a collection of psychological horror short stories. So, a husband and wife find themselves repeating the same scene over and over as something large looms in the sky above them. An old woman who takes care of her Alzheimer's inflicted husband is exasperated when she realizes he believes that his mother is at the front door. Her mother-in-law, who has been dead for many years. She wants to show him he's wrong. However, opening the door to prove it to him is a bad idea. Something is waiting for them, lurking in the fog beyond the safety of their home. 2 teenage boys spend a Saturday together, but a practical joke they play gets out of hand. when they seriously injure a girl from their school. Going on the run seems the only way out of trouble. When they enter a door inside a deserted department store, they find that they have moved a million miles from home with someone who has revenge on her mind. It says, coming up short is a collection of 10 tales of the macabre by the author and award-winning written The Fog series. These stories will keep you awake, nervously chewing at your fingernails, cringing at every little creak in your home. A reality may not be what you have been led to believe. Prompt number 17 is extreme horror, and this book is 58-ish pages for the Kindle. And this is book number 1 in the Food series, written by Jeffrey Kasten, and this is Winner, Winner, Chicken, and then it's just ... So, is there anything you wouldn't eat if meat... Oh, excuse me. Is there... Let me try that again. Wow, I'm struggling. Is there anything you wouldn't eat if it meant saving your family? Even during the years preceding the downfall and the creation of the Kingdom of Pacifica, food is scarce. Social injustice and hardship, however, is quite plentiful. Sharon Mentor, widow and mother of 3 young children, works long, hard days at a factory in Tacoma, Washington. But it isn't enough. Even with foraging for less than savory alternatives like roadkill, she can't reliably feed her family. And every day, life is getting worse. National and local government is losing control. States are succeeding. The environment is collapsing. Chaos and misery are becoming the new normal. Then the opportunity of a lifetime falls in Sharon's lap. All she has to do is to compete in a new game show and beat 3 other contestants. The competition, 3 rounds of food preparation challenges. The show producer is mysterious as to what that means, but Sharon doesn't care. She can't care, because the prize is something she cannot pass up. It isn't money. Money is practically worthless when the grocery stores are practically empty. It isn't fame. Fame is now utterly worthless because no one cares about anyone else. The prize, food, and lots of it. The winner's family receives generous quantities of luxury food for an entire year. For someone like Sharon, this prize is simply too enticing to pass up. She'll just have to find out what the game is when she shows up. Okay, now there is a warning. It says this is an extreme horror short story. It contains graphic depictions of harm to animals. It also contains violence, coarse language, human degradation, and dark dystopian content. So, which I assume going into extreme that it is going to have those warnings. Next up, the prompt number 18 is green cover. So I found a ebook where the cover is mostly green. There's some red font on it. And this is a horror novella. And this one is called Reaper by Jonathan Pongratz. Looks like it's about the paperback is 96 pages. How do you fight a monster? Halloween night, 1992, promised the allowance he's always dreamed of. Gregory has to babysit his little sister Imogene and hand out candy. That was before the basement door opened on its own. Before the strange door appeared in the basement. Before Imogene was taken from him by that terrifying monster. Now, Gregory has to scramble to put the pieces together before it's too late. Where did the door come from? What was that creature? Can he save his sister, or is she already gone forever? And this one's a young adult. Most of the books that I will be trying to read for this are going to be adult, but this is a young adult. Prompt number 19 is cozy horror, and this is an author where most of their works comes up as listed as cozy horror. So I'm going to go with it, and this is from a Google search. So the book I've selected is The Hollow Places, written by T. Kingfisher. A young woman discovers a strange portal in her uncle's house, leading to madness and terror in this gripping new novel. Pray they are hungry. Kara finds these words in the mysterious bunker that she's discovered behind a hole in the wall of her uncle's house. Freshly divorced and living back at home, Kara now becomes obsessed with these cryptic words and starts exploring the peculiar bunker, only to discover that it holds portals to countless alternate realities. But these places are haunted by creatures that seem to hear thoughts, and the more you fear them, the stronger they become. Prompt number, 20 is nonfiction or something based on a true story. So I have an ebook, and this one is nonfiction. And this is actually volume 6. From the description, it does not sound like you have to read these in order. So this one is True Tales of the Supernatural. This one is specifically for haunted houses. 13 sinister stories of paranormal, paranormal properties, fictional haunted houses are disturbing enough. Okay. But how does it feel when the ghosts are real? When a genuine specter invades your private space? Find out from the narrators of the following 13 true stories, where apparitions appear everywhere from detached homes on desirable streets to derelict buildings and isolated cottages. Settle in for the fighting delights of tales, of all these various tales. So, these are all people's experiences living in haunted houses. And the narrator was Tina Vantler. I'm sure I'm going to be saying a lot of names wrong in this video. Prompt number 21 is Cannibalism. So for this one is a longer book. This one I did a Google search and it actually came up on a Reddit post of a great place to start with cannibalistic books. The mass market paperback is 308 pages, so it is a little bit longer, and this is book number 1 in the Dead River series by Jack Ketchum. So this book is called Off Season. It says September. A beautiful New York editor retreats to a lonely cabin in a hill in the quaint Maine beach town of Dead River, off season, awaiting her sister and friends. Nearby, a savage human family with a taste for flesh lurks in the darkening woods, watching, waiting for the moon to rise and night to fall. And before too many hours pass, 5 civilized, sophisticated people and 1 tired old country sheriff will learn just how primitive we all are beneath the surface, and that there are no limits at all to the will to survive. Yes. Prompt number 22 is apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic. So for this one, I am going with Deadfall, and it says this is a zombie apocalypse. It does say thriller, but it is listed as horror somewhere that I looked, but the tags are not coming up on Goodreads. But it did say it is a oh, I remember what it was, because when I did the Google search, sometimes it would pull up Goodreads and say these are popular horror, whatever, in this case apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic. So, and it would list, like, sometimes there'd be one page of like 15, sometimes there'd be 11 pages of however many. So that's where this one was. It says, as the undead rise from their graves, the Halter family fight to survive. Former British Army soldier Joe Halter was prepared for a normal day with his family. But as sirens blare in the streets of London, he has to go on a daring mission to save his daughter, while his wife fights for her life at home. Prompt number 23 is elemental or environment horror. One author that comes to my mind that I do suggest is Jeff Vandermeer, especially the Annihilation series. So, but I read that whole series, except for the one that's been announced, which is like the 4th one, but it's not out yet. So, and it won't be out in time for this readathon. So I'm going with Eden by Tim Leben. Looks like the Kindle version is about 280-ish pages, right around that mark. It says, in large areas of the planet, nature is no longer humanity's friend. In a time of global warming and spiraling damage to the environment, the virgin zones were established to help combat the change. Abandoned by humanity and given back to nature, these vast areas in a dozen remote locations across the planet are intended to become the lungs of the world, but there are always those drawn to such places. Extreme sports enthusiasts and adventure racing teams target the dangerous, sometimes deadly zones for illicit races. Only the hardest and most experienced dare undertake these expeditions. When one of them enters the oldest zone, Eden, they aren't prepared for what confronts them. Nature has returned to Eden in an elemental, primeval way, and here nature is no longer humanity's friend. Okay, so prompt number 24 is folk horror, and this one I'm going with an anthology of folk horror, and this is book number 1 in this series, and the series title and the book title are the same, and this is The Fiends in the Furrows. Editors are David T. Neal and Christine M. Scott. So this is, I'm not going to read the synopsis because one, it's really long, but it's just a collection of short stories, all folk horror from various authors. So that's all you need to know going into that one, or all I need to know too. So prompt number 25 is Ghost. For this one, I am going with The Haunting of Lee Harker by Darcy Coates. Sometimes the dead reach back. Lee Harker's quiet suburban home was her sanctuary for more than a decade, until things abruptly changed. Curtains open by themselves, radios turn off and on, and a dark figure looms in the shadows of her bedroom door at night, watching her, waiting for her to finally let down her guard enough to fall asleep. Pushed to her limits but unwilling to abandon her home, Lee struggles to find answers, but each step forces her towards something more terrifying than she ever imagined. A poisonous shadow seeps from the locked door beneath the stairs. The handle rattles through the night and fingernails scratch at the wood. Her home harbors dangerous secrets, and now that Lee is trapped within its walls, she fears she may never escape. Prompt number 26 is Witches. For this one, I have selected Cackle by Rachel Harrison. It says, a darkly funny, frightening novel about a young woman learning how to take what she wants from a witch who may be too good to be true. All her life, Annie has played it nice and safe. After being unceremoniously dumped by her longtime boyfriend, Annie seeks a fresh start. She accepts a teaching position that moves her from Manhattan to a small village upstate. She's stunned by how perfect and picturesque the town is. The people are all friendly and warm. Her apartment is dreamy too, minus the old persistent spider infestation. Oh, okay, personal horror there. Then Annie meets Sophie, beautiful, charming, magnetic Sophie, who takes a special interest in Annie, who wants to be her friend. More importantly, she wants Annie to stop apologizing and start living for herself. That's how Sophie lives. Annie can't help but gravitate towards the self-possessed Annie, wanting to spend more and more time with her, despite the fact that the rest of the townsfolk seem a little afraid of her. And there are some things. Sophie's appearance is uncanny and ageless. Her mansion in the middle of the woods feels a little unearthly, and she does seem to wield a certain power. But she couldn't be, or could she? Prompt number 27 is cryptids, and for this one I'm going with a Bigfoot story. This is 124-ish pages for the Kindle, and it's High on Bigfoot by Armanda Rosamilia. Two friends think they found the perfect summer job on top of a mountain. What they've finally found is death and destruction. A monster lives in a cave above a marijuana compound. For years, the rumors of a murderous creature has kept everyone working the fields away. Until now. Can Buck and Aiden survive once the Bigfoot comes down from his lair? And Bigfoot is considered a cryptid, so. Prompt number 28 is cosmic horror. Now, my mind goes to space, but when I did some research on it, Lovecraftian horror is what comes up. So, something strange and unusual type thing. And this one I don't think takes place in space. But it is classified as not only Lovecraftian, but it is classified as cosmic horror from the Google search that I did. And I'm going with The Worm and His Kings. This is book number 1 in a series with the same name. This is written by Haley Piper. And this, let's see, is about 116 pages, but that's for the paperback. New York City, 1990. When you slip through the cracks, no one is there to catch you. Monique learns that the hard way after her girlfriend Donna vanishes without a trace. Only after the disappearance of several other impoverished women does Monique hear the rumors. A taloned monster stalks the city's underground and snatches victims into the dark. Donna isn't missing. She was taken. To save the woman she loves, Monique must descend deeper than the known underground, into a subterranean world of enigmatic cultists and shadowy creatures. But what she finds looms beyond her wildest fears. A darkness that stretches from the dawn of time and across the stars. So maybe there'll be a bit of stuff in space, but underground. Number 29 is Home Invasion, and this one is a horror romance, and I believe one of the tags was erotica. The Kindle edition is about 29 pages, might be a little shorter than that, so I've got some really short books on this list. And this one says, okay, so Home Invasion, and I've selected Hush Little Baby by Ashley Michelle. It does say this is an erotic horror romance. Short. So, kinky, home invasion horror, plus size FMC, so female main character, quick read, male, female. All I wanted was one fantasy fulfilled, played out perfectly. Home invasion, sexy times, mask, gloves, the whole nine. When my boyfriend finally agreed, I was willing to put in the work to keep him around a little bit longer for it. I mean, who wouldn't, right? And when I finally got the night of my life with the wild, hot, drool-worthy scenario I dreamed of, it shouldn't have been a no-brainer to keep Sean around, at least for another romp or two. There's just one problem. And then it ends off. So, I mean, there's a warning saying this is full of trigger warnings. Please read responsibly. I suggest that with any book, if there's things that are particularly bothersome to you. For example, if you're really struggling, I know that when I struggled with self-harm a lot when I was younger, this is like over 15 years ago, and occasion, anyway, as older, but in the depths and throes of it, to read a book that had that in there probably would not have been a good idea at that time. Same thing with like suicidal ideations and stuff. So sometimes books are just not meant at the right time. Definitely you can read them later if things settle and you're more equipped to handle certain topics. So just always be cautious going into any book. That's up to you as the reader, because you know what's going to be particularly bothersome to you at that time that you pick up a book. Or at least you think you do. Sometimes things surprise you, but just do the best you can. Prompt number 30 is Aliens. And this one I'm going for Xeno, written by Nathan Kuzak. And I could have said the title wrong. Okay, it does say this Kindle edition is about 300 pages, so this is a little bit more on the longer end. And it says, the huge spaceship, the Xeno, is en route to a new world light years from Earth. Its payload of more than 50,000 cryogenically frozen colonists, watched over by a supercomputer and a skeleton crew of only a dozen people. When the ship comes into contact with a seemingly inert alien artifact drifting in space, the crew believes they've made a monumentous discovery for all humankind. They're unaware it's the eve of true horror. Soon it becomes clear the crew have unwittingly woken an evil so ancient and so powerful, it threatens not only the ship and its slumbering passengers, but the future of the human race itself. Prompt number 31 is Curses, and this is the last physical book that I have in this. Everything else that you'll see for the end of this video is going to be ebooks. This one is Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. Again, the prompt is Curses. It's time to come home. The whole family has owned the Gallows Hill winery for generations. The sprawling old house has long been perched on top of a hill overlooking the nearby town, jealously guarding the estate's secrets. Their wine wins awards, their business prospers, their family thrives, until Hugh and Maria Hull enter the dark halls of Gallows Hill one last time and are found dead the next morning. People whisper that the curse has awakened once more, and that's why this fulfills that prompt, Curses. It's been more than a decade since Margot Hull last saw her childhood home. She was young enough when she was sent away that she barely remembers its dark passageways and secret corners. But now she's returned to bury her parents and reconnect with the winery that is her family's legacy, and the bloody truth of exactly what lies buried beneath the crumbling estates. Alone in the sprawling, dilapidated building, Margot is forced to come face to face with the horrors of the past and realize that she may be the next victim of a house that never rests. So I have 2 of this author, right? Yes, 2 of this author, Darcy Coates, on this, and I actually have the book that's on the back From Below. I actually have that downstairs, and I have another book. So I have 4 books from this author, but I've yet to pick up any of these books. So I'm drawn in by the covers of this author's books and the synopsis, but I haven't picked any of them up yet. So hopefully I'll get to at least one of these. If I had to choose between the 2, this one draws me in more than The Haunting of Lee Harker's. So yeah. Prompt number 32 is Dolls, and this one I'm going with The Doll by J.C. Martin. Short Kindle story is about 30 pages. It says, the Island of the Dolls is a strange and eerie tourist destination in Mexico, where hundreds of decomposing dolls hang from trees like grisly Christmas ornaments. On a trip to the island, Joyce Parker's daughter falls in love with a beautiful but sinister doll. Soon after, she starts developing strange mannerisms that concerns Josie. Her research into the doll's past reveals a dark history and the curse of a lonely child spirit. Prompt number 33 is Clowns. This one I'm going with When the Circus Came to Town, written by Deborah McClatchy. Not sure how to pronounce it. The cover is creepy. You'll be seeing the cover there. This is 109-ish pages for the Kindle. Sometimes I've noticed that on Goodreads it lists, like, for this case 109 pages, but the actual story may be closer to the 100-page mark, so quite a little bit shorter, because it has the afterword and about the author, if you want more from this work or more of this author's work type stuff. So it's generally a bit shorter than a little bit shorter than what's listed on Goodreads. Let's see. The Bosci, B-O-S-C-I, Bosci Expo, some expo, is coming to town. Tony Brazil and his best friend Paul can hardly wait. But what they don't know is that this circus is bringing with it a cursed little being. The old ventriloquist, Pomeroy Pretty Goot, I'm guessing is how that is said, I don't know, once again has to clean up after the dummy's handiwork. He has had it with the little wooden man's appetites for human strength, but is resigned to the fact that he must live with the creature until the curse is satisfied. A boy turns up missing along with Hank Budd, the town bully. Paul is worried for his sister because she too has not returned home from the circus. Tony and Paul try to investigate the disappearances, which lead them into near disaster. Sorry, I started to lose my place there. Have they all met the same fate? What is going on with this particular expo? Is there a killer in the circus, or is he on the loose? It did say there's clowns, and there is a clown on the cover, so I'm hoping maybe this little ventriloquist puppet is a clown. I don't know. We'll see if I get to it. If and when, I should say, because I will get to it just in the month of May. I don't know. Okay, prompt number 34 is holiday horror, and this one I'm going more with a Christmas. And this is Where the Dead Go to Die by Aaron Dries and Mark Allen Gunnels. And it says it's about 129 pages, but that's for the paperback. So, okay. There are monsters in this world, and they used to be us. Now it's time to euthanize to survive in a hospice where Emily, a woman haunted by her past, only wants to do her job and be the best mother possible. Post-infection, Chicago, Christmas. Inside the hospice, Emily and her fellow nurses do their rounds. Here, men and women live out their final days in comfort, segregated from society, and are then humanely terminated before fate turns them into marrow-craving monsters known as smilers. Outside these imposing walls, rabid protesters swarm with signs caught up in the heat of their hatred. Emily, a woman haunted by her past, it's just repeating the synopsis again. So there you go. Takes place at or on or around Christmas. So there we go, holiday horror. Prompt number 35 is Evil Candy, and for this one I'm going with the ebook Sour Candy, written by Keelan Patrick Burke. Again, I know I'm saying these names wrong and I'm sorry. Kindle edition is about 84 pages. At first glance, Phil Pendleton and his son Adam are just an ordinary father and son, no different from any other. They take walks in the park together, visit county fairs, museums, and zoos, and eat together overlooking the lake. Some might say the father is a little too accommodating, giving the lack of discipline when the child loses his temper in public. Some might say he spoils the son by allowing him to set his own bedtimes and eat candy whenever he wants. Some might say that such leniency is starting to take its toll on the father, given how his health has declined. What no one knows is that Phil is a prisoner, and that up until a few weeks ago and a chance encounter at a grocery store, he had never seen the child before in his life. That one sounds really good. And the last prompt, number 36, is technological horror. This one was a little bit harder, but I think I was also kind of getting burned out on trying to look up a bunch of different books. It was the end of a shift and my back was hurting, and so this was a little bit harder for me just physically to be able to look a bunch of stuff up. So, but technological horror, this one does come up, and it is The Last Days of Jack Sparks, written by Jason Arnott. And this one, the Kindle edition, is about 336 pages, it looks like. Jack Sparks died while writing this book. It was no secret that journalist Jack Sparks had been researching the occult for his new book. No stranger to controversy, he already triggered a furious Twitter storm by mocking an exorcism he witnessed. Then there was that video, 40 seconds of chilling footage that Jack repeatedly claimed was not of his making, yet was posted from his own YouTube account. Nobody knew what happened to Jack in the days that followed, until now. Now, I will say too, and I was trying to go, I do have 2 Darcy Coates on here. There's another author, the one that I did earlier, but the movie The Ring, I would consider that technological horror because it's that videotape, and if you watch it then you have 7 days to die. So if you were to read the book on that, the book that the movie is based on, I think that would work. The other one that came up, but I could not find a digital copy to buy, I wanted to, I don't remember the name of the title because it's different than the movie, and I'm blanking on the movie name, but it's about this demon, and I have not seen the movie, but I think it had Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. Anyway, so it's another like Japanese horror type thing, and they tend to be very scary, at least with the movies. But yeah, I would consider The Ring, if you picked up a copy of that in book format, that would count as technological horror, and that's in my opinion. So yeah, these are the books that I have slotted for every weekly theme and prompt. Again, I do not expect to get to any of these. That's 40 books. There is no way I'm getting to 40 books in May. There's just, now, I would be very surprised. There are some that are over 500 pages, definitely over the 200 and 300 page mark, but I do have quite a few that are definitely less than 200 pages, some even less than 100 pages. So we'll see how it goes, but I do need to sprinkle in some romance, some contemporaries, some fantasy, other stuff, because I will get burned out on all this horror. So I know I won't be getting to all of these, because that would have to be more than 40 pages, the 40 books to read. Let me know, are you participating? If you're not going by the prompts or the themes, is there a horror book or author that you are excited to get to? Thank you again to all the co-hosts and to Becky and Scott for creating this. And I hope that when this readathon comes around next year that they will be in a better position to participate with us. That would be great. If not, that's fine. But yeah, this was a great thing, and I'm so glad that they created this. So again, let me know if you're participating and what you're most excited to get to for May. And yeah, so talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I will talk to you later.